Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive, this time into the world of ASMR roleplay.
Right.
And we're going to be looking at a really popular YouTube video today.
Right.
And this video is all about a boyfriend comforting his girlfriend. And,
Mhm.
it's something that a lot of people find really compelling. And we're going to kind of unpack what makes these videos tick
Right.
and maybe reveal something about why they resonate so deeply with so many viewers.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I think this seemingly simple scenario can really open a window into, the psychology of ASMR and its effectiveness
Right.
in triggering those tingles. And what's especially intriguing, I think, about this particular video is how it uses language and sensory details to build this really powerful sense of intimacy and
Right.
emotional connection with the listener.
It starts with a pretty relatable scene, right? A winter day, a
Yeah.
park bench, and a girlfriend in tears.
Yeah.
But the details really paint a picture. Like he mentions the cold air, the crunch of snow underfoot,
Yeah.
even the warmth of the coffee he brought for her.
Yeah, all those sensory details are so vital for eliciting those ASMR responses,
Mm.
right? They work on multiple levels. They're
Mhm.
triggering those physical sensations, but they're also drawing on those personal memories. And,
Yeah.
think about it. Who hasn't felt, the bite of winter or the comfort of a warm drink
Right.
on a cold day?
Right.
These are all things that are so universal. And the video really taps into that shared sensory language
Mm.
to create that instant connection with the listener.
And he doesn't just, describe the scene. He incorporates all these sensory details into like how he interacts with her.
Exactly.
He teases her about her cold hands,
Yeah.
offers to warm them up, even talks about the steam rising from her coffee.
Yeah.
It's like he's weaving this sensory tapestry with his words.
Exactly. And that's where the genius of ASMR roleplay really comes in. It's not just about, creating relaxing sounds. It's
Mm.
about building an entire world through language. And by drawing the listener into this, sensory-rich environment,
Mm-hmm.
the video is really priming them for a deeper emotional experience.
Now, I noticed something interesting about the language he uses.
Okay.
He calls her kitten and gremlin, which is kind of endearing,
Mm-hmm.
but also maybe a little possessive.
Yeah, that's a great observation. And I think it speaks to the power dynamics
Right.
that are often at play in a lot of these ASMR roleplay scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Those seemingly innocent nicknames
Hmm.
can be interpreted as a way of
Yeah.
establishing control, albeit subtly. By assigning these pet names, he's creating this sense of intimacy, but it's an intimacy that's defined on his terms.
And she doesn't really object. In fact, she doesn't speak at all throughout the entire video.
Yeah.
So we're experiencing her emotions only through like her actions, the crying, the way she snuggles closer,
Mm-hmm.
even her little sighs. It's like we're invited into her head, but she's not actively participating in the conversation.
Yeah, and that silence is so significant because it places the listener in this passive receptive role,
Right.
which further reinforces that power dynamic that we were talking about. And it also taps into something I think that's so unique about ASMR, which is the ability to evoke this sense of intimacy
Right.
without direct interaction.
Right. Right.
The listener becomes an observer, almost like a voyeur, experiencing this intimacy between the characters
Mm-hmm.
without actually having to participate in it. It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? This
Yeah.
intimacy that's built on observation and this carefully crafted soundscape.
Yeah. And it really plays into, I think, what makes ASMR roleplay so compelling. It's that ability to create this deeply personalized experience for the listener.
Mhm.
I was thinking about those sensory details that he uses, the coffee, even the sound of their boots on the snow.
Right.
And it's like he's activating these memories in the listener's mind, creating this shared sensory experience that just deepens that connection even further.
Precisely. And you think
Yeah.
about the science behind ASMR, those autonomous sensory meridian responses that we were mentioning earlier.
Right.
It's more than just a tingling sensation. It's this complex neurological phenomenon
Hmm.
that can trigger feelings of calm euphoria,
Yeah.
even social connection.
Mhm.
And this skilled use of language and sound in these videos can be so incredibly effective in triggering those responses.
Okay, so we've got the sensory triggers, we've got this intimate language, and we've got this interesting power dynamic that's at play.
Mhm.
But there's also this deeper emotional layer here, too.
Yeah.
He's not just making small talk, he's actually addressing some of her unspoken anxieties.
Right.
He reassures her that he's there for her, that he understands her, even brings up a past experience where she felt abandoned.
And that's where we move beyond simple relaxation and into the realm of emotional validation.
Right.
He's not just offering comfort, he's actually anticipating her needs, validating her fears, and positioning himself as the solution.
Yeah.
It's a very clever technique, and it speaks to the potential of ASMR roleplay to provide a sense of emotional support, even if it's coming from this fictional character.
Is that why these videos are so popular? Because they offer kind of like a virtual therapy session, a safe space to explore emotions without judgment?
That's certainly a possibility. I think for some viewers, ASMR roleplay might offer this way to kind of process their own experiences,
Right. Yeah.
to feel seen and heard, even if it's through a fictional character.
Yeah.
It's almost like a form of guided meditation where the listener is invited to project their own emotions and anxieties onto this scenario.
But there's also an element of escapism here, right?
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, who wouldn't want a boyfriend who's so attuned to their needs, who can anticipate their every insecurity and offer the perfect words of comfort? It's almost like this fantasy of like the ideal relationship.
That's an important point to bring up. While ASMR roleplay can offer those emotional benefits, it's so crucial to recognize the potential for blurring the lines between fantasy and reality.
Right.
The idealized nature of these scenarios might create these unrealistic expectations for real-life relationships,
Right.
setting viewers up for disappointment.
It's like anything else. You need a healthy dose of reality to balance things out. Speaking of balance, the video also seems to strike this really interesting balance between verbal and physical intimacy.
Yeah.
He talks about wanting to cuddle, wanting to carry her on his back, things like that. But it's all very subtle, more implied than explicit.
That's a key aspect of ASMR, the suggestion of physical touch. It triggers a sense of closeness and comfort, even without actual contact.
Yeah.
And remember, these responses are so deeply rooted in our biology,
Right.
in our primal need for human connection. And the video really cleverly taps into that need by weaving these suggestions of physical intimacy into the dialogue.
It's almost like a virtual hug.
Right.
Or maybe even a virtual something more.
Yeah.
But it's still safe because it's all happening within the confines of the audio. The listener is in control. They can stop the video whenever they want. There's no pressure. There's no real-world consequences.
And that's such a crucial distinction.
Yeah.
ASMR roleplay offers this controlled environment for exploring these emotions and fantasies.
Right.
It allows the listener to kind of dictate the pace, the level of intimacy, the boundaries. It's this form of self-exploration that's entirely on their terms.
So it's empowering in a way, giving the listener agency over their own emotional experience.
Exactly. It really empowers the listener to kind of explore those emotions and desires
Right.
in a safe and controlled environment.
Yeah.
But it's also important, I think, to consider the potential downsides.
Right.
What happens when those virtual experiences start to overshadow real-life interactions?
Right.
Does it hinder our ability to form genuine connections, or does it actually offer a stepping stone
Right.
towards greater emotional awareness?
That's a really interesting point. It makes me think about that whole idea of like parasocial relationships.
Oh.
You know, those one-sided connections that we form with like fictional characters or online personalities? Could ASMR roleplay be tapping into that same phenomenon, but blurring those lines between fantasy and reality?
Right. Absolutely. The intimacy and emotional validation offered in these videos can create such a powerful sense of attachment, even though the relationship is entirely one-sided.
Right.
And while that can be really beneficial for some, providing comfort, reducing loneliness,
Yeah.
it's so crucial to maintain a healthy perspective.
So what does all this mean for like our listener who's, diving into the world of ASMR roleplay? Should they be wary or is it all just harmless fun?
I wouldn't say wary, but definitely mindful.
Yeah.
I think ASMR roleplay, like any form of media, can have both positive and negative impacts.
Right.
The key is to approach it with awareness, to understand the psychological mechanisms that are at play, and to make conscious choices about how it fits into your life.
So it's not just about like chasing those tingles.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the deeper emotional needs that these videos might be fulfilling.
Right.
The need for connection validation, maybe even a sense of control in a world that often feels very chaotic.
I have to admit, I was a little skeptical at first, but after unpacking all of this with you, I'm really starting to see ASMR roleplay in a whole new light. It's not just about relaxation or escapism.
Right.
It's really a window into the complexities of human emotion and like our evolving relationship with technology.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's such a fascinating phenomenon that raises all these important questions about intimacy, power, and the nature of connection in the digital age.
So to our listener who's been on this deep dive with us today, I think the takeaway here is to approach ASMR roleplay with an open mind and a healthy dose of curiosity. Don't be afraid to explore, but do so consciously.
Right.
Pay attention to how these videos make you feel, what needs they might be fulfilling, and where those needs might be better met in real life.
And remember, even in the virtual world, connection is a two-way street.
Right.
So while you're enjoying those tingles and exploring those fantasies, don't forget to nurture those real-life relationships that truly enrich your life.
Great advice. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive.
Of course.
And to our listener, we hope you enjoyed exploring the fascinating world of ASMR roleplay with us.
Good.
Until next time.